Welcome, ladies. It's so good to see you guys again together. The January cohort is back together, even though you guys have been together, I think, since leaving here the end of February. So thank you for coming and giving some post. We welcome post commentary and talk about just kind of the before and after, because that's what we do a little bit of talking about. And then we'll be talking a little bit about the after Yapas, so the post-Yapas that really lead into the Repioneering Church and the No Wasted Time Network and the commerce metrics. About healing, we think about these great big things. We talk about boulders, but our process talks about moments.
Yes, right.
One incident that might have been 5 minutes. It might have been 30 seconds in passing. It might have been 1 minute. How do you reconcile this with how this is helping you heal the big stuff? And were you surprised that some of the things that were big stuff were small things?
Oh, absolutely surprised. I mean, I had a whole 10-year period of my life that I thought was the narrative. This is what happened. 10 whole years that was broken down into probably 10 minutes of my young life that perpetuated that narrative the whole rest of my life.
How many years did that affect you? How many years were you affected behaviorally? The things that you were doing, the drugs of choice, the behavioral drugs of choice.
Half a century plus.
68.
So something that happened in 10 minutes of life lasted
absolutely
decades?
Absolutely. And that's what this program challenges you to do. Break it down to the moment that it happened, what actually happened. And like I said, you can't unsee it any other way once you see it like that. You really can't. And so that allows you to then, as you're moving through this thing called life, break it down into the moment. What happened in that particular moment? What is the fact? What are the facts? And how you going to respond
what you doing with
what you doing with it.
One of the things I realize is that you can't unlearn it. And that is the stuff, in the mad social scientist mind that
Yeah.
If people use these tools, you will never not have an alternative processing methodology somewhere in the attic of your mind.
Yeah.
Some people don't use it until crisis happens. Talk about
but isn't that what we're trying to avoid? Crisis? We don't want to get to that point.
My reality. I teach about the paradigm shift, and the reality is that for many, crisis is what shifts the paradigm. One of the clips, and we didn't go into it because it would have taken us on another rabbit trail, probably. It would have taken me on another rabbit trail, probably, not y'all. And I can go on rabbit trails. I got the time. But part of this is understanding that there's a very small percentage of people that move by inspiration. There's some that move by intuition. Sounds good. Sounds like a good direction to go into. And there's a lot that only will be moved by crisis. And that's a really good segue. It feels affirming because I go into this saying, I don't care what they come down here and do. Agreement, no agreement. If they get the tools, their life will be changed. Now, if they come and get these tools and learn about them and then don't use them, sometimes the backlash is guilt. I know a way that I can be addressing it because I've seen it work while I was here with LaRon, and I've now chosen not to use them. I understand that, and I'm willing to allow others to pay that price. But one of the joys is that it was kind of like the joy of education. I remember growing up college was instilled as a way out. And I understand it now from a historical context. For certain generations, that was your way to break some of the bondage of state in society, education. But I remember, wrestling with the cost of it. And I remember my mother, or maybe it was my grandmother, saying, they may keep your diploma if you don't pay them folk off. Or you may have student loans or bills afterwards. But if you go and get what you were supposed to get,
that's right,
they can't take that back from you, the education. And so this has been one of the joys of this particular part of the social tech work, that you can't unlearn it. And I'm a farmer. I got seeds sitting on the shelf that I've not yet germinated. As long as they don't get a whiff of water and think that they have a chance to grow, until I'm ready, they'll be in suspended animation. Their purpose doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. Their capacity doesn't go away. That seed, if it's a good seed, whenever some healing water, some life gets poured onto it, it will try its best to grow. And so part of that helps me to stay balanced. I'm not responsible for how others do it. The Christian scriptures have a real good analogy. Plant a seed if you're called to plant it. If you ain't called to water it, keep it moving. Go on, be about your business. People that come here or that interface, many of them are not called to stay here. Some people, a lot of people, this is the International Welcome Center. It's the way station on the way to freedom, greater freedom in life, literally. But if you plant good seeds, if given even the slightest opportunity, this farm wisdom for y'all, I'm a retired farmer, even the slightest opportunity will do their best to grow. Mm-hmm. The environment makes the difference. Mm-hmm. How much of their potential, how much fruit they will yield. But part of the formula says plant good seeds, water them with the best, purest healing water you can. And then it's the responsibility of seeds to grow, not mine. Yeah. So I'm grateful for the investment, because that indicates the paradigm is changing. If nothing but in your life, to be able to say, I got a different set of rules now for my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do. We done gone from checkers to chess. The rules have to change. How I move has to change because my paradigm has changed. Mm-hmm. And this is part of my work. My work is preparation for the major social paradigm shifts in society. But the major social paradigm shifts start one person at a time.
One person at a time.
And so it gives me feelings of gratitude, because not only am I grateful for the change that will continue to occur, hopefully in your lives as a result of it, but then you become ambassadors who are living the lessons, who are living my life work, who are saying, what if we heal and my life's getting better and everything I touch gets watered a little bit differently now. Yeah. My water is a little bit purer now. It's got a little more healing minerals in the water now with people that come into contact with me. And so gratitude would be one of the biggest emotions. Can y'all identify with that?
I can identify with that. Thank you.
I want to just throw something in here real quick. I am now a co-facilitator from a healing retreat.
Co-instigators in life. So let me switch and just spend a few minutes talking about kind of the after. Because part of what this work is about recognizing that how can we do more and more of it? One of the things that kind of overlapped retirement and kind of real work life, this is retirement work life, I started a transitional housing program with the belief that housing first had to be the answer. We could figure out the economics of it afterwards. Our umbrella houses are a little bit different than the guest house. The guest house, you come, get your training, and then figure out what you're going to do next. Whereas the umbrella houses provide that ongoing coaching support, emotional health and safety support each week as a part of the coaching package that comes with the housing. It's one of the other housing styles that's a part of the convertible community framework, the Our House, Our Home formula. And as that is part of the process, one of the things is if we're creating these communities of people that are healing first, we have to be prepared to get them healed. We ain't doing the healing, but helping them have tools just like you all participated in. And one of the ways that one of the ways that we co-collaborate that is through our economic matrix, our commerce matrix. And one of the things that we do is, because you're ambassadors and you can live the experience, that we have our referral structure, our partnership structure of being able to collaborate retreats, but also in the referral. You guys will reach people that I won't reach. And part of that is about the economics of that. So I want to just go over some of those details and the way that this conversation happened. One of our participants that did not end up coming in January, and Diamond and I had a conversation about it, a little bit preemptive because it's irrelevant if you ain't done the healing. Not done the healing, then we don't talk money, because again, this goes into the dangling the goodies, that I try really hard not to bribe people to healing, because that's never sustainable. But now that it's relevant, I thought this is an appropriate place to now have that conversation on the backside of you guys coming through the Gangsta Grannies program and kind of going back into regular life, figuring out your new paradigm. And so let's look at a couple of clips. One that kind of just introduces that change and really the growing need for us to create more communities. And I'll talk a little bit about that at the end on why that's relevant to some of the new stuff and next stuff that we're doing here. But we'll talk about kind of the lead up. We'll talk about some of the numbers and what that has as the income potentials, because the reality is oftentimes you can get free, but for some people, staying free is an economic choice. And this is about using healing as part of your freedom plan, not just in living it, but that in living it, there becomes the overflow that has economic benefits. So let's start here, because this kind of was the start of that meeting. And let's take a look at this clip.
Right.
We fight people, but when society starts changing, it's uncomfortable. People are looking for solutions. We can't live life the way we used to live it. It don't feel good to do what your mama did, you know? They seemed okay-ish. So it's really good to see that. Part of it is the expectation that there are those that are running away. And that's part of what this voice is about, of saying, no. Because if you deal with the fears, then you go on purpose. You go where you want to go because you want to, not because you're running away. Get free however you need to, but like, we can't get free from that and then spend another 400 years in that same mode, you know?
That's hard, for real.
I'm glad to see
I just had a sister who is curiously interested in the project. And so I think our challenge is to pull all the components together to make it make sense within the group.
And then that goes into a whole nother place. And one of the pretty bold statements that I say to people in the intentional community space and in some of the circles with women, especially Black women, you're hearing the term co-living, a little bit different than the vocabulary I use, but I can sense some of the meaning from that. And one of the bold statements that I make, not just with that group, but with individuals in the intentional community space, it's people that are wanting to come together and commingle their finances and build community in all different ways. The intentional community movement has a variety of expressions. The convertible community is one type of intentional community that I am personally involved in that has a foundation of social tech. But I am very firm. When people want to come talk about buying land, perking land, building houses, sustainability, solar, any of those things that are wonderful, wonderful pieces to be thinking about, I challenge them and say, if you're not investing at least as much in the social tech aspect as you are in the physical tech, you can build nice communities. But even if you've got good neighbors are not always community. You guys are living together, you're co-living, you're in some of those circles where some of these conversations are being had. Talk to me now from this vantage point about that statement that may have been bold and outlandish sounding from the front side. Talk to me now about that as we talk about some of the economics. Because one of the things that we do is we teach people not only how to professionally use these tools, we teach them how to build umbrella houses, way stations, guest houses using this modality. And that's part of the training that we offer here. Tell me a little bit about that philosophy from the after side, and even from the standpoint of looking at this from the business side. You guys are people that have been in professional circles. Talk to me about even the concept of healing first before we talk about the money and the dollars and the cents and the business agreements and all of that. And my demand that happens in this framework of community development. Give me some perspective now from the backside of what that sounds like now, having had this experience, as we start talking about commerce. Why would we talk about this when we're talking about commerce?
Yeah. Well, I think, the money, the commerce end of it, the financial piece of it that's extra. That's gravy. If you don't have the potatoes, then you don't have anything sustainable. And that's why I said earlier in the podcast that Wendy and I are aligned with our commitment that if anybody wants to join us at any point in time while we're on this proof of concept journey this year on co-living, sharing living space, whatever you want to call it, the person has to have some healing, because there are conversations that are going to be more challenging than others, because we're all grown people, in a shared space. And if you can't have those conversations in peace without attitudes and defense mechanisms going up and walls being built for no reason, instead of being able to create healthy boundaries, it's not going to succeed. Some business ventures that I had explored prior to coming to Cuenca with you and doing this 30 days are business ventures that I would not ever think about entering into at this point, because I have a different perspective, I have a different way to break down the facts and see whether or not they butt up against my beliefs and my value system. And I know that I'm happy that in hindsight, I made some good decisions before this healing. But now I'm really, really excited about the fact that I have a different way to determine how I spend my life's energy. I wouldn't have had that before. You allude to the fact that, there was supposed to be initially 3 Gangsta Grannies. It didn't work out that way. Everything happens for a reason. So if you go into anything and you put money first as a priority, business is business, but this is the business of building something sustainable. My foundation, I state very clearly, has to be on healing. That has to be the fundamental building block of anything that I'm doing moving forward.
Thanks for sharing that. Let's another clip, because this is those things that are hard to say, but I'm firm.
Looking all crazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, the healing gives you that opportunity for freedom to say the stuff that you mean, and check yourself to say, is it ego? Because when you say, this is a little bit better than what you're talking about, or this is a little different than what you're talking about, or I'm not talking about the same thing that you're talking about, I have to do the checks. I'm healing too. I have to do the checks and say, is that your ego?
Yeah.
And clean it up to say, no, this is what I mean to say. This is the truth. This is the truth, and it's not coming from those places. And so I talk a little bit about that, and then we'll go into some of the numbers.
Okay.
The core folks in the cohort, right? That's a requirement. So if they want to live with me, Dr. T, or Wendy, you ain't coming till the work is done.
Yeah. That's I'm on several boards. One of them is the BIPOC Leadership Council for the Intentional Community Council. And, we're seeing more people of color, Black people, Black women, they're wanting to do community, and they just jump in. And I'm like, you got some of us that have got some experience to be able to give you better insight. And even today, in one of the co-living groups that I'm in, someone was talking about, we wanted to get together, have a community, do farm. We bought this land together, and they're miserable. They've been struggling.
Yeah, I ain't about none of that.
First of all, you've left a life that has some creature comforts. You go live on some raw land and you don't know the first thing about permitting and perking. You know, you're in over your head, and but this is where paradigms go. It becomes a fad.
Right.
When you are already in an emotional bankrupt state by living in American society, and you start commingling your funds, and you don't know basics of like agreements. What are the covenants for this community that we put in place? Because we don't live our lives. American society has gotten away from living where we first look at what the values are and really look at what we mean. And then we have to get honest with ourselves. And so we take our dysfunction, and the communities become another dysfunctional relationship. It may not be a man, but it's the same dysfunction.
It certainly can be. Exactly.
One of the things that I teach is called social triage. If you're healing, if you're doing that sustainable value-based living where you're thinking about your values and making sure your actions in life line up with the things you say are important to you, having the ability to do that lets you listen differently to other people.
Absolutely.
I hear what you say. I absolutely heard you. And then I saw that your behavior conflicted with what you said was your value. Doesn't mean it's your value. It just means you can't live your values yet. And I need to know that if I'm going to commingle. If I'm a commingle, I need to know if you pay your money on time.
Exactly.
I come begging you for the money every month and begging you and harassing you and because those are real life things that happen. And then part of this is about these tools are about equipping. When individuals come here and stay, the rest of the day, there's one requirement. If they've done the training, you got to do at least a 7-day intensive training. You ain't got to do more than that, but you got to do that because I know that you've at least got the competency to use the tools. Now, whether you use them or not is your issue, but part of that is built into this is the way to have healing conversations when there's conflict. The requirement for people that stay extended stays beyond a month is they have to come to the weekly meeting. It's a non-negotiable 1 hour out of your life. If you can't do that, don't come here. I mean that. I've told people straight up, if that is not what you want to do, because one, it's my home. This is an extension of, and I ain't gonna be uncomfortable for nobody because I ain't responsible for none of these people. Heal, no heal. I am not responsible. And part of it is about me being able to be firm, because that's a boundary in my life that says, you come to my home and my space where I'm creating peace for me first, because I'm responsible for me. I can volunteer to take on responsibilities for other people. And you come and you won't honor that here's a better way for us to resolve conflict and get straight to the core. I'm not going to go 55 messages that be 3 pages long or 15 minutes on a rant that doesn't actually help us. It actually traumatizes you more. Ego-based. I ain't gonna put that energy in life. And so part of that is establishing that in the places that you go with the people that says, if you got a better way to resolve conflict, fine. Most of the time they don't.
Right.
If something comes up, if I feel uncomfortable any kind of way, we have a methodology first for me to go deal with my stuff, to make sure that I pick up on the stuff that's my issues, because my stuff will show up too. Then you have the ability to sit down in a way that takes us through the process of actually resolving it. Then we can sit back and talk and do the quantification and whatever else we're going to do. And if people aren't willing to do that, what I have found in this work is that they then require sacrificial energy to be spent by the other people in community.
I'm not doing it.
You might not want to for your co-living situation, though we highly recommend that you go through this program, right? It does not have to be 30 days. It could be the 7-day intensive. We highly recommend it, right? So as we recommend, we're going to send them off to you. You handle that. That's whatever that referral looks like, right? But in order, again, for you to join the core cohort anywhere in the world, you have to have gone through the Gangsta Grannies.
That's good. That's good. All right, I said it.
My position is even more solidified after having gone through the program. Okay.
I think I'm different behind closed doors. No, I'm saying. I look at that
What
myself
you
and say, you'll say it. You'll say it, because if it's true, it's true. If it's my truth, I give people the other right to accept it. But I come in with that. I lead with that. That's my repeat. It's on repeat. Anybody can get some of that, because I mean it. Part of that really is about the style of co-living that we do, where there has to be some boundaries and some expectations that are established. Hearing that from the front side and hearing it again from the back side, tell me, because Wendy wasn't in that conversation. So Diamond, tell me kind of where that takes you, kind of if you play back where you were hearing it the first time and then hearing it now in reflection, looking backward.
I stand 10 toes down on it now. I mean, I was standing on it then. I don't want anybody who can't have a conversation in love, because I don't care how much Wendy and I get along. At the end of the day, there are going to be some everyday issues that arise that we're going to have to talk about. Wendy eats meat. I don't. It was when we were in Portugal together last year, sharing house sitting responsibilities in the EU. And, we're going to the register and I'm like, we're splitting everything 50-50, but you eat 100% of what you're buying. And I only eat 25% of what we're buying. So that was a conversation we had to have, right? No smoke, no, nothing disparaging at all. It's just acknowledging the differences, right? And talking about it in a peaceful way so we can still be harmonious in our living situation. That was an instant fix. The fact is, Diamond, and we didn't even have this language last year, right? Mm-hmm. The fact is, you don't eat what you're spending your money on, but I eat everything that. So there was an imbalance. An easy fix, because we got to the facts, we addressed it, and it's never been an issue since. Right. But some people, they won't even address an issue out of fear or insecurity. I don't want to upset this apple cart. I'm just going to be pissed. I'm spending my money, blah, blah, whatever it is. If you can't have a mature conversation in love, you are not going to have a harmonious co-living situation, period. Sure. And that extends past just that.
Real talk, though, I'm not sure how a third or fourth person comes in at this point. It's not like I'm covetous of this or anything, but
I am.
But you know what I'm saying? But when we talk about somebody coming in, they have some therapy on their belt, or do some work or whatever. We didn't when we first did get together. Mm-hmm. It was just that it was a harmonious relationship. But how me going into the world and thinking about co-living with somebody else, how do I say, okay, that person's going to be okay? Because, and who am I, other than saying, no, I don't want you in here, who am I to say that you can't come because you don't have no therapy? I understand why I want that. I don't know personally how to go about getting it in the same sentence as saying I want a third or fourth person.
Do you have the tools to be able to test what you're feeling about situations? Some tools to be able to do some of that triage and identify some of the ways that whether what they say is what they live on a consistent basis. Part of this begins building a toolbox for being able to have better discernment.
Sure.
For being able to make some decisions. And some of those decisions may be, I need someone who's a little bit more spiritually grown up. Who has a little bit better emotional intelligence, because if not, it's not a right or wrong, but it does say if they don't. Right. It's going to take more energy to interact. Now,
I'm willing to give.
I'm healing, so I have a greater capacity for the unhealed parts of other people and myself. But I get to decide what I want to spend my energy on. And some people, if they've not done this work or don't have the vocabulary or don't have the skills, it's skills. if they don't have the skills to process life in ways that lead to healing and resolution, you get to decide if you want to sacrifice, because going into people's presence who you know already conflict with your values and expectations for life means you have to accept that the potential for trauma is there.
Yeah.
And so having those tools leading into that, let's go into some of the numbers of it, because we start talking, and this is the part about doing business where if you do it honestly and transparently, it don't matter. But the numbers are very clean. We have a really clean matrix. Our work exchange works a certain way, and some of the numbers of compensation work that way too. So let's just listen to that and talk about that briefly as we kind of get to the end of our post cohort wrap up. All right, let's see. Push the button. About the Gangsta Grannies, I have 5 slots where I said I'm willing to do in 2025 for free for work exchange. Not free, but a full exchange. You guys are taking 3 of those spots. And those dates are dates that I said I'll be available to be able to do month long.
Correct.
I want to do some traveling, and I think I got other stuff that I want to get to.
You didn't want to lock myself. We got that.
I didn't want to lock myself. So, but the month long is going to be a regular option.
Okay.
That they can come month long. The week is a nice intro. But what I find, sometimes that's what people can handle. I want people to bite off only what they can chew, because I don't want folks wasting the energy. Do what you can handle. But those, because I'm looking specifically for shifters and pioneers, certain demographic of people, certain change dynamic that I'm looking for. The month really gives people a working capacity to use this. If you're partnering, there's one rate. It's a 50% profit split. And I have a spreadsheet and matrix. It's automatic. It does it as the estimated expenses for what it costs to do the retreats. But for referrals, so let me talk about people that pay, because that's the easiest to start with.
Yes.
Part of this is, let me tell you why it's beneficial. I'm one person and I'm determined to stay balanced in my life. Part of this is, in the dynamic of a shifter, I don't want to touch a whole lot of people directly.
Oh, you do.
The work I do is a deep work. It's a lot of energy. It's for those who can handle that much.
100.
Other people will be the connector pieces. Other people, you guys, the ladies that are coming to you, because you guys are their leaders. You guys are their leader. I ain't their leader. The warehouse and picking up some tools for this next chapter that you guys are doing. And so part of that has value to me, because it's your energy making those relationships and interacting. I'm at about my max. I'm pretty free. People can just call me. Most people don't, because they think that you're not available and not accessible. I've had probably 3 or 4 people be real surprised when they sent me a message and I responded. I understand. I know. They're in a different paradigm. But if I began interacting with everybody, I'll be out of balance, because I'm not one that gives them one little bite at a time. You call my house early in the morning, any time of day.
We already know that.
My purpose gonna be here. When you get off my phone, if the universe never brings you to my pet, whatever you were supposed to get today, you got it. Whatever you do, you got it. You unpack. It's on you, not on me. And so having others who value the work, having others that do that connecting on the ground. That's valuable. And part of this is modeling. Part of my work has been about modeling new commerce business, new paradigm business, how we do business so everybody at the table wins. Healing retreats are $2,500 that is all inclusive.
Right.
Out of that, if someone is a direct referral from you, you want to practice, make sure you let them know. Y'all make up a code where however y'all want to do it, because I ain't going to figure it out for how y'all going to do that.
I ain't doing that.
But have them communicate that they're being sent by whoop, 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 whoop. We can call it something different. You guys can do whatever you want to do to help it fit into the model of what you guys are doing. I'm open with that. Let them know to make sure that referral's known. they have to put a deposit down when they book, and 30 days before they come, they have to have the rest of their monies paid. I pay that referral on that 30 days in advance.
Okay.
If they have the option with the healing vacation, many of the things that are paid things, they have the option of doing work exchange. Part of that is the economics of living here lets me financially be able to say, what do I have to make it sustainable?
Right.
When they come to that street, that $500 that has to be paid, I will not barter that $500 because I'm not going to take money out of my pocket to take people on vacation when they get here. And those excursions cost real money. The taxis, the ride, the tea party, the whatever we do, all of that costs money. And I want people to pay that. Because if they're not willing to pay that, they're not willing to invest in themselves, why should I? And I tell people that straight up. I'm not going to invest. This is my play money. This is my scuba diving money. I'm not going to invest my money if you're not willing to put something on the table. You got to put some money, or you got to put money and energy on the table, because that's a value base that says you ought to be more concerned about taking care of you than I am. If I'm giving more to you are, it's a term that's going to be unsustainable real quick, because then you must be doing this. We ain't doing that. If they barter, their barter has to be negotiated before that 30 days. Their entire plan for how they have to fund this has to be done in 30 days. I put that on people, because people will wait to the last minute and they want me to be jumping through hoops, and I promised them that I'm not gonna move no faster. I'm gonna need 30 days to prepare for you to come. 30 days. Whatever you tell me, 30 days from there, I'm gonna be prepared, because that lets me move at a pace. That lets me follow inspiration and balance. If they negotiate a portion of that that's prorated, the referral fee is prorated based on that. So out of that fee, 2,000 of it can be negotiated. That's the portion that the referral fee is paid from. Out of that, let's say they negotiate half of that, then the referral fee is 50% of that $500 amount. And that's a set fee for any of the services. If they do that, if they do the month long, if they do any of our training programs, that's a standard referral fee, because we want this to be valuable for you, because you're doing the work. We want people to do the work of taking their circle of influence and funneling them to the services that you have found are valuable, and that you guys will be able to speak to it yourself.
Okay, so let me see if I understand what you just said. So if we refer someone to your center and they book a healing retreat in the value of $2,500, regardless of whether or not that's all monetary or it's a combination of deposit, services, etc., then the referral, us as the referring
all
party,
cash. All cash. Let's start one. If it's all cash, it's a flat $500 fee. If they negotiate barter, then it's a prorated fee based on the percentage of that balance that they are bartering. They have to pay $500. That gives them $2,000. That $2,000 is what that's equal to 100%. $2,000 out of that $500 goes to.
Okay.
If they negotiate a barter for 1,000 of that $2,000, that means 50%. There's no cash exchange on 50%. That means the referral fee is 50%.
Okay. Of the $1,000.
Out of the $1,000, no, your referral fee is 50% of the $500. So the referral fee is $250.
$250. That's what I had.
So whatever that prorated percentage is of that $2,000, if they pay it all in cash, that's 100%. Your referral fee is 100%. If they pay 25% of that in cash, your referral fee is 25% of that $500. The $500 doesn't change. It just fluctuates if there's no cash transaction. That keeps me from ever being unsustainable. If you refer someone, let's say you refer this person and they sign up for the free event, there's no money. For me to have to pay a referral fee for that means we are now unsustainable. And I have determined for things that are outside of things I'm obligated to do, I will not do them unsustainably. I cannot fund the vision in that way.
So referral fees.
So that was a whole lot.
That was a lot.
Time, but two ways that really alumni of the International Welcome Center's training program have to be able to supplement or work into their own income streams. One is by doing partnership retreats. We have 50% profit share on our partnership retreats. Part of the first retreats that you do, part of it's training, part of it's learning and working with the tools and helping to hold the healing circles from a place of experience. You can't lead it if you don't live it, which is why we don't offer this to people that just want to partner and collaborate. We say, no, thank you. Not all money is money that really serves our purpose. But then you also have the option of referring. I talked a little bit in that clip about why, and trying to have really clear and transparent information, even about business, because that's sometimes, well, we don't want to tell them what we really charge, and we don't want to tell them how the money moves and things like that. And part of this is, if you're doing the work, then it's so much easier just be honest. It takes a whole lot of this energy, just be honest and put the numbers on the table and make sure that everybody that's at the table can win in that situation. And that's one of the extra benefits we give, because this is about maintaining our freedom so that we have the time to do the things. It's about supporting the passions that we have, because realistically, some of them take money. I got projects. They take money above and beyond my regular allotment of spending money that preserves this early retirement indefinitely. That's important to me. High on my priority list. Mess with that, we're gonna have a problem. I ain't healed enough for you to come back. I promise you, take my word, I say things literally. If you jeopardize my retirement freedom, I'm a fight.
We're coming up.
Pray for me that I catch myself and do some healing on the way to the fight. But I'm just telling you right now, I ain't done enough healing for somebody to come into my space and jeopardize the economics of me being retired and being able to wake up every day and do what I want to do, the things that are meaningful in my life. So that's serious. If folk don't get, I'm serious. I'm serious. But part of this is about providing an open-ended opportunity. And really there's three pieces. One is the opportunity to come and stay in community here. We rent at a flat rate of $500 for those that are short or term leases, less than 6 months, that don't occupy an entire unit exclusively. You have the opportunity of being able to come back and partner with retreats. I've got something that's meaningful. I want to partner and have the undergirding of social tech on that. One of the events that's coming up is we are doing that in Kenya. We will be doing a healing vacation retreat in Kenya on the same model. If people want to go to that retreat, it's same price. Same price in Kenya. The plane ticket may be a little bit more, but the healing retreat is on the same price platform to be able to offer that opportunity. And I'm really excited about that. And then that referral fee is that ongoing residual capacity that works within your network and your passions within your life to be able to have the give and take. The give and take for the energy and effort of the relationships that you maintain that aren't my relationships, but that you may see value in directing them and steering them to these tools as well from your lived experience. Talk a little bit about that, because we had a little bit of this conversation earlier, but now that it's relevant because you guys are really alumni of the training, talk to me about just the way we're doing business. It's a little bit different approach to doing business. Just give me some feedback on what that feels like for you guys from the post time here at International Welcome Center.
I'm going to defer to Diamond because I don't have any business. I'm happy that I don't have any business.
She says she 100% retired.
I'm good.
Period.
I'm good.
But I appreciate the transparency. I appreciate the stability and the sustainability of the offer. To be honest with you, like I said earlier, that financial piece, that commerce piece, that referral piece is simply gravy. It really is. Being able to share the transformation, the transformative experience, and having people buy into it. Because it's something they want for their lives is more important than, us making $500. I mean, money is real. You need money to live. I don't care where you are. You need less of it in these international streets than you do in the United States. Real talk, but that is not the primary focus. It's a great added bonus. And the fact that you have it laid out so succinctly, and you're passionate about it. It's got to work for you first of all before it can work for anybody else. And going into it what you're signing up for, what the opportunity is. So I really appreciate the transparency of that opportunity.
This is one of those hard parts of the transition from the old paradigm to the new paradigm. Even business has to change.
Right. So it does look very different then, and that's why I think it's a little bit more challenging to comprehend on the front end. And so, you just got to you got to explain it. You have to explain it because it is a different way of doing business. Just like how we're living now and making decisions is very different than the way we did prior to coming to the program. I mean, that's just what it is.
Very different. And so thank you for giving us an opportunity to explore that as it relates to these pieces of the programming and the post interface between alumni and those who may be
alumni. We the OG GG. We the OG.
Like right now. I just made it up. Like, and I know. You said you had some pins. I thought about the pins, but then I was like, I don't want things to be ego triggering. Maybe I just give them what does they say about pebbles? Give them a special rock. At one time they gave you something to put in your pocket, and give them a special rock or something. I got my paint pins and stuff. Maybe I'll do something like that. Be like your alumni rock.
Yes.
Miniature boulder, symbolic boulders of your
boulder.
I love kind of new on the fly. But I thought we'd end. All my stuff, most of my stuff, a lot of my stuff has playlists, and the Gangsta Grannies has a theme song, and it's a longer story, but the short of it is that Stevie Wonder did a song called Pastime Paradise. It's such a good fit for the Heal Together initiative. And then even though we don't have an active chapter of the Men Heal Together, it's waiting. It's a container waiting for somebody to show up and say, that's my lane. And we can take it from there. But there's a theme song, and it's the remade version of Pastime Paradise that Coolio did. It's called Gangsta Paradise. And it's the story of a man who realizes that he needs the help. And there was no help to come to. It follows through into his real life, the story of dying with the addictions still in stronghold, or so we think. We don't know all the real details, and so it's the sadness that there are men who, because there aren't maybe other men who have said, hey, let's do this thing, or to lead them in living it. But the song really is a testament. But for the Gangsta Grannies, Mary J. Blige did a song, a version of the very same song. It's interesting, this thread, except she calls it time. And so I'd like to play that kind of as an ending just to this wrap up time. Thank you for giving me the time and having this chit chat with me, but to really hear what it has to say in reflection to the experience and really the hope of this 2025 Gangsta Granny work exchange initiative, the Gangsta Grannies Global. So take this as my song offering today in high reflection.
Well, I think that is an appropriate theme song for the Gangsta Grannies.
Not only is it the problem, but it's the solution. We need wise women, wise older women. But the reality is many of us have lived more than half of our life. And so it's making sure that we aren't leaving time wasted, that we're using that to live our purpose, to live our passions, to come into the truth, to reward ourselves with the joy of authentic living. And I am grateful for not only the time that you all have invested into exploring this work, but the generosity of your time today to be able to capture some of the reflection and feedback, to be able to share with others. I'm so grateful today. So thank you all. Any closing thoughts or words or anything else that y'all feel like you need to say and share so we can let folks know?
Yeah, I'm right at my time contract, but what I do want to say is, with gratitude, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this original 2025 Gangsta Granny cohort. And to the cohort coming in, y'all better buckle up, get ready. You're going to need one another through this process. Be friends, connect before you get there, because you're going to need one another, but you're going to walk out so much different than you walk in. So just get ready. Let's go.
Thank you all so much.